Let me see that thong, baby. That thong, not that thong. So I was watching another professor with my client earlier because there's nothing else to watch. We're just changing, like, a ridiculous amount of channels. There's too many channels on TV. And I was thinking about, the word Negro because my dad used to be called Negro when he was young, being dark skinned Italian. He called crispy, and in the northern Italy, which your ancestors are northern Italian, it is like praised to be fair. I know that tanning your skin is all more of a trend now, but back in like the 40s and 50s, my grandma Dolores, who's Polish from St. Louis, used to call my dad a Negro, or they would say those old terms that are now looked as derogatory. They are derogatory, but he also wasn't doing well academically, so he got bullied. So he's very sensitive about that. He used to work out a lot, I guess, a makeup for all of that, and including, she used to be brash with him. I mean, a lot of things that she would say was true, but a lot of things she shouldn't even be saying. My grandma had a poop mouth from St. Louis and trashed on him too hard, too critical, and too much. I remember me and Tani, when we were like really close friends, a lot of people thought we were related, maybe sisters. We went into a Micah Beauty place, the mineral eyeshadow and makeup place, where they put a face mask on me that had like fetal stuff. I didn't know it had fetal stuff in it, and it was too late. It was like a warming mask. And they took it off. I was glad they took it off. I remember something Kim Kardashian would wear, something blood mask stuff. And it was at Micah Beauty, which is more of a high-end place, with this queenie guy, gay, with long lashes, fake lashes, got on just buying, Micah eyeshadows, which is mineral based. I bought Tawny and I Micah Beauty eyeshadows, and they work really good. They're mineral quality makeup. And he's asking, "Oh, do you bleach your skin?" I'm like, "No, we're not related. Just because she's part Mexican. We're petite, have a similar look," and including his Mexican culture is very close to Italian. She's actually part Russian. I'm Polish, which is close to Russian, but her dad is Russian. And this queen was all like getting up in our skin, like, "Oh, are you bleached?" I'm like, "No." And when we go to bars, like we went to a Mexican bar with a bunch of metalheads into like Accept and Slayer with the patches. Big, massive bar with a bunch of Mexican metalheads that go to like hardcore Def Leppard concerts, like Arnold Oga, Def Leppard. It's how she met him. And some of them were nice. Some of them really liked us. Some are from LA were nice. And some of them a little more, prejudiced because we're light glowing in the bar and we don't know Spanish. And Tawny doesn't know fluent. I asked her mom, did she have a quinceanera? She said no, she's not Mexican, but she is part Mexican. Her mom's like Indian dark looking and her dad's Russian. And yeah, there's this barrier thing with the whole dark skin thing. I remember I was working at St. Paul's downtown and a couple from India came in. Everybody was talking bad about him. Nobody liked him. They didn't want to sit with him in their tables. The couple didn't even sit together because they were not getting along. They were on each other's nerves. And I remember I see her in the elevator. I walk the elevator to deliver food up to the memory care. And she's like, "Are you biased? What are you looking at? What?" And she was yelling at one of the white old ladies in a walker who was real kind of lost looking. And I never seen old ladies get in on it, and I was like, it wasn't fair because the lady was like older than the Indian lady, and she's all like almost like a little fight tiff going on here, too energetic and too much for this old lady looking like, "Oh, I don't know what to say," her mouth hanging open. And she told me she used to be a stewardess and that she thinks that her husband's a con artist, one of those yogi con artists. She's like a big time Trump supporter. I remember downtown, it was like 2022 time, and I was working for St. Paul's, like at the for a year, I was delivering things, memory care, dishwashing, serving, having to know everybody's preferences, delivering them like all types of food to their rooms, or have the chef prepare them like a quesadilla to go to their room. But yeah, I've worked for different things like agencies. I worked for an agency for Honor Care Pro, and they would send me out to weird trips where you go out, you're like an Uber Lyft driver. A lot of people just want you to drive, or they want you to clean their house. One lady wanted me just to babysit her deaf cat in an old town, nice area, real rich, like really wealthy, a lot of money in the tourist trap area of Old Town. And she didn't even want me to caregiver. She just wanted me to take care of her cat. One hippie guy, I remember, I went to his house. It was a mess. He was an old surfer hippie with Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young posters in his garage, and like Grace Slick and Janis Joplin and Stevie Nicks posters all over the house, Indian idols, and I had to clean around, and I cleaned his bathroom, 2 of his bathrooms that were a mess, his dad's and his kitchen was a mess, mopped his floors, cleaned his patio up. I was working real hard there, and he looked like one of the like he looked like way old school 1960s aging hippie with long blonde gray hair. And that's about Stevie Nicks and Grace Slick. I remember having a dream about Grace Slick. She's in her 80s now. She's one of the more like deviant grandmas still. She hasn't changed one bit. She's into Buddhism and like Hinduism and seeing her idols. She's rich. And I think it's probably where all her wealth is coming from, mainly a lot. Clearly, she came from a very wealthy background. She went to one of the upper scale New York colleges. She used to be a model. She was married to Jerry Slick, that she kept his name, and he launched her career to become famous as the Jefferson Airplane singer, which before there was another female singer that looked kind of like her with blue eyes and dark hair. And she eventually was the face of Jefferson Airplane as soon as she came with her booming voice. We should be together, you and me, like that, and bring in Hinduism in there, the sound. That's why the Om symbol is used in a lot of the musicians. It brings in the rhythm of the Hinduism, the music and all that, almost like she's meditating while she's on stage at Woodstock. It looked like she's like in a trance, and her daughter's name's China because San Francisco and all that. Actually, the office was in San Francisco with Honor Care Pro, and I can never get a hold of anybody that really talked one-on-one about the clients. So I was only there 3 months with the company, and it was not going to be long-term, including they mashed up my schedule too close together, like overnights with a early day the next day. So long-term, realistically, it wasn't going to work out, but also the clients were remote in different places, different locations, like Chula Vista to La Jolla to Old Town, and it was different every day. So it was like a fly-by-night and different random weird little things they wanted you to do for them. And it was like, what is this job? After 3 months, you're out. But yeah, I remember that was after a pandemic and nobody wanted to be a caregiver. And I got into working for the agency when I got out of Saquon, and it was like ghost town and, lockdown, and everybody lost jobs, and it was a screwy time, during that time. But yeah, I went through like different things throughout like the pandemic that were odd like that. It was interesting and different. National City, which I never had any client in National City because that's a more poor area, and I grew up near that area when I used to date Johnny. There was like a old 1800s like bridal shop that used to be a brothel. And I remember going in it, and a lot of brothels are haunted because of all the sinful activity that would go on in those places. And I didn't like going near it or going inside it, but I would check it out because there was like always a historical plaque there, a plaque that told information about the place. But I don't know if that exact one was the brothel, but one of those 1800s really nice houses in National City was a brothel. And one of my mom's friends who likes to gamble, her distant relative is a madam and went from one of those, 1800s time of the old Western cowboy days. And that's why she always likes lotto tickets and gambling. And her distant relative is a madam. Those ladies are really, really tough, hardcore criminals. They're like well-dressed, rich, worse than a prostitute. They're real business owner, hardcore with a gun, cowboys and settlers' days with a bunch of people from foreign places coming in with all kinds of diseases coming in there, syphilis. You get syphilis and have to cover their faces with a sheer cloth over their bonnet because they'd walk around with deformed, ugly faces. And at nighttime, if you're upper class, you had to have an escort. If you were seen without your escort, you're assumed to be a hooker or a prostitute, because in cowboy western days, it was common. And if you're out without an escort, you're automatically assumed to be a sex worker. And a lot of times they would have like a bonnet with some covering. And the younger they were, the more they cost. Talk about like old pagan culture, like Rome. It was looked at like, oh, whatever, about underage and all that. I remember Arthur told me a story. There was a weird party like that was going on with underage, and he didn't like it, and he left. And it still goes on Greece. And in Rome, it's the underage thing. They usually cost more. They have more cost to them. And it's like, wow, like, whoa, Tawny's actually related to her biological grandma as a prostitute that put her mom up for adoption. There's a lot of people related to madams and prostitutes, but they don't exactly become one, but they're related distantly. Ancient Rome was the worst. Like, like a 6,000 denarii, like silvers or even more for a like out of state, really good looking, healthy, in good health, wealth, probably a virgin and young. And because she's her slave, you could think of all the things you could do with a human being. But a male slave was only like 100 denarii. And wow, that shows the gender really does matter and always have in our societies. Now I'm talking with a bunch of crack voice. I didn't usually have those problems, but in my younger years, people used to think I was on male hormones. I figure that it's because of genetics. One of my grandmas had a lot of testosterone. Yeah, she did. She had a lot of testosterone count. Like you could tell. And we caregive for one of them, and you could tell. She wouldn't have a lot of testosterone where it was a healthy amount, but she had enough that you could tell, like there's something there. Maybe, I don't know what it is. Like her hair would grow really fast, have to shave it. And it's not healthy to have a lot of testosterone, actually. It's not good. But yeah, I am a little more manly, like, yeah, but I go up and down my weight, and my voice changes with it, because voice changes with their weight gaining more, including hormone treatments. I never took hormone treatment. I never took female hormones. My mom would say, oh, why do you just take female hormones? I'm like, I don't want to mess with my body, So I never took female hormones. I just, myself. I never, bleached my skin or took female hormones or did any artificial, touching. I never got my nose done. My grandma got plastic surgery on her cheekbones, boobs. She was rich, all that, vain and all that. I don't mess around, really. I just dye my hair copper and wear makeup because I like it, cosmetics. I've always been a hobby, passion artist, artist fam. I love art. I've always loved cosmetics. I've just been infatuated with colors. It's more like a color therapy thing, the color wheel. And if I had a boutique, it would be called Color Wheel, like a color therapy place with cosmetics and clothes with different colors that match with the makeup. And for some reason, it's a therapy to go shopping and get an outfit with cosmetics that match. And it makes me feel better, like almost like a therapy. I don't know what it is. Like it makes you feel good for a little while. Not like a long-term high or drinking or doing drugs, which we know is sin, but like the colors, there is proof of color therapy and painting. Like Grace Slick is a painter. She learned that in her charm school, the all-girl charm school, when she was young and painting, and she doesn't do singing anymore because she doesn't care about music and shining herself out there anymore and getting plastic surgery. She's just a gray-haired grandma that paints, doesn't care about looking great and being a model and shining out and showing off. It's what happened in our later years, being retired. But yeah, like, she hasn't changed a bit. She's still the same Grace, like her soul's still there. You see how she is. She's from the baby boomer generation. She's outspoken, more liberal. She doesn't care. Her parents are more conservative, but she was more liberal always. And that's kind of how me and Tani were. Like, here we're hanging out with a bunch of Mexicans, big groups of metalheads, and look at us. We're different. Fair, walking in a bar. That's why I liked her, because she was different. She didn't care what they thought about her. She said, oh, we're a clique. Don't care. We're a clique. Don't care about those what people say about us. Who cares about them, what they have to say? Well, how many people are like that? That's very bold. Go walking in a room with a bunch of Mexicans. You know how they are, a bunch of metalheads, hardcore. And look at us. We're like, what is this? Like, Tweedledee, Tweedledum, looking at us like, oh, yeah. But we didn't care. We were there to drink and have a fun time, and we're not there to, like, intrude on anybody. We were invited by Arnoldo, and we didn't really hang out there all the time, but we were just checking out the scene and wanting to go see the karaoke night and go drink. There's pool tables. What's it to you? Mind your own bizwags. Get out of here. Like, what, we can't walk in there? Like, excuse me. We're human beings, and, you don't control and act like all territorial about your bar here. But some of them were nice. Some of the ladies were nice, but some gotta watch out. That's a different culture. And same with Italians. Negro.